best spear ever.
Keep in mind,
WWE Raw has never shied away from delivering shocking twists and high-stakes confrontations, but the latest episode gave fans a moment that instantly became one of the most talked-about segments of the night. In a heated backstage altercation, Jimmy Uso crossed paths with Bron Breakker and the always calculating Paul Heyman. What began as tense words quickly spiraled into a volatile showdown, one that had fans questioning alliances, motives, and the future of all three men involved. Jimmy Uso's recent struggles and his growing frustration. For months, Jimmy Uso has been caught in a whirlwind of family drama and professional setbacks. Once a dominant force within the Bloodline, alongside his brother Jay and cousin Roman Reigns, Jimmy now finds himself in an unstable position. With Roman's leadership faltering after repeated betrayals and Jay forging his own path on Raw, Jimmy has often appeared conflicted, torn between loyalty to his family and his desire to stand on his own as a singles competitor. This emotional conflict has made Jimmy more volatile. No longer content to play second fiddle, he's become outspoken, aggressive, and unpredictable, especially when confronted with rivals who threaten his pride. That frustration was on full display during his run-in with Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman. The rising star, Bron Breakker. On the other side of this confrontation stood Bron Breakker, one of the fastest rising stars in WWE today. With a powerhouse physique, explosive speed, and a ruthless edge, Breakker has made waves since debuting on Raw. He's not the type of superstar who waits for opportunities. He seizes them by force. Recently, Breakker has aligned himself with Paul Heyman, a partnership that has only added to his mystique. Heyman, long regarded as one of the greatest strategists in WWE history, has guided legends like Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns to superstardom. By pairing with Heyman, Breakker instantly gained credibility, positioning himself as a future world champion in the making. But that alliance has also put Breakker directly at odds with the Usos and the fractured remnants of the Bloodline. The mastermind, Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman has always thrived on chaos. Whether standing ringside as the wise man of the Bloodline or scheming behind the curtain, his ability to manipulate situations and bend talent to his will is unmatched. With Roman Reigns absent from Raw for the past several weeks, Heyman has been forced to recalibrate his influence. By throwing his weight behind Bron Breakker, Heyman appears to be building a new empire, one that could potentially overshadow even what Roman Reigns created. To Jimmy Uso, however, this move feels like yet another betrayal, another attempt by Heyman to rewrite the Bloodline legacy without including those who carried it from the beginning. The backstage encounter. The moment unfolded in a backstage hallway where cameras captured Heyman and Breakker deep in conversation. Heyman's trademark whispers of strategy, paired with Breakker's focused glare, painted a picture of a partnership in motion. But suddenly, Jimmy Uso stormed into the frame, his energy already radiating anger and defiance. "Hey!" Jimmy barked, cutting off Heyman mid-sentence. His voice carried the frustration of weeks, maybe even months, of pent-up resentment. He accused Heyman of turning his back on family, of grooming Breakker to replace Roman Reigns and erase everything the Usos had sacrificed. Bron Breakker, never one to back down, smirked in response. He dismissed Jimmy's words, mocking him as a has been riding the coattails of his cousin. This was the spark that set the confrontation ablaze. Tensions reach a boiling point. Jimmy stepped forward, closing the distance between himself and Breakker. The two men stood nose to nose, the intensity radiating off their faces. Breakker flexed his jaw, his body language daring Jimmy to throw the first punch, while Heyman hovered nearby, his eyes darting between them with both nervousness and anticipation. The crowd watching on the big screen inside the arena erupted in chants, fully aware that this was more than a simple disagreement. It was the clash of legacy versus the future. Jimmy shouted about family honor, about respect, about the sacrifices he and Jay had made to build the Bloodline into WWE's most dominant faction. Breakker responded coldly, saying he didn't care about the past and that he was here to dominate the present. Paul Heyman's subtle manipulation. As the shouting match escalated, Paul Heyman subtly stepped in. He raised his hands, feigning an attempt to de-escalate, but his words only poured fuel on the fire. Heyman told Jimmy that the Bloodline's future no longer revolved around him, or even Roman Reigns. According to Heyman, the future was standing right in front of him in the form of Bron Breakker. This stung Jimmy deeply. The man who once proudly called Heyman the wise man now felt discarded, replaced, and betrayed. Heyman's sly smile suggested he wanted exactly this outcome. Jimmy's rage boiling over, while Breakker looked unflinching in the face of it. Physicality erupts. Unable to contain himself any longer, Jimmy shoved Breakker. The sudden physical contact sent shockwaves backstage, with officials quickly moving in to prevent a full-scale brawl. But Breakker didn't flinch. He shoved Jimmy back with double the force, sending him crashing into a set of production crates. Jimmy, furious, lunged again, but security intervened. The image of Breakker standing tall with Heyman smirking at his side, while Jimmy struggled against officials, told the story perfectly. A new era might be dawning, one where Jimmy Uso no longer commands the respect he once did. Fan reaction social media exploded instantly. Clips of the confrontation were replayed endlessly, with fans divided over the implications. Some sided with Jimmy, praising his passion and loyalty to his family. Others hailed Breakker as the rightful heir to WWE's future, especially with Paul Heyman guiding him. The tension raised countless questions. Was Jimmy being written out of the Bloodline narrative altogether? Was Breakker destined to take Roman Reigns' place as Heyman's chosen one? Or could this confrontation signal an even bigger story involving all parties colliding in the near future? The road ahead. This confrontation is unlikely to be a one-off. The seeds have clearly been planted for a deeper feud involving Jimmy Uso, Bron Breakker, and Paul Heyman. Whether it leads to a singles clash between Jimmy and Breakker, or evolves into a larger storyline about the fractured bloodline, one thing is certain. Raw has just been injected with a fresh dose of drama. For Jimmy Uso, this moment could be a turning point. Will he continue to fight for the legacy of his family, or will the frustration drive him down an even darker path? For Bron Breakker, this is his chance to prove that he's not just a rising star, but a true successor to WWE's top spot. And for Paul Heyman, this is yet another masterclass in manipulation as he positions himself at the center of power, regardless of who's holding the reins. Conclusion. The backstage confrontation between Jimmy Uso, Bron Breakker, and Paul Heyman wasn't just a segment, it was a statement. It symbolized the clash between legacy and the future, between loyalty and ambition, between family and betrayal. With emotions running high and the stakes only getting bigger, fans can be sure that this storyline is far from over. Jimmy Uso may have confronted Breakker and Heyman out of anger, but what he stumbled into could be the beginning of a rivalry that reshapes the landscape of Raw. And if there's one thing we know about WWE, it's that when Paul Heyman is involved, nothing happens by accident.